Mr. Thomas, a multi-billionaire, secretly listened to the conversation of her daughter, the heir to his empire, with a poor girl. What happens next will shock you. The sun had just begun to dip behind the horizon, casting an orange glow across the vast expanse of the billionaire's estate. In the lush garden, beneath the towering oak tree, a scene unfolded that no one could have predicted. Emily, the billionaire's 12-year-old daughter, sat on a worn wooden bench, her fingers wrapped tightly around her phone as she scrolled through social media. Her world was one of luxury, private tutors, designer clothes, and a life insulated from the harsh realities of the world outside. But today, something was different. Across the park, under the same tree, sat a girl no older than Emily. But unlike her, this girl wore ragged clothes, her face smudged with dirt. Her hair was unkempt, a tangled mess of brown curls, and she had no phone, no device to distract her. She was simply sitting there, talking to Emily, and for some reason, Emily seemed genuinely intrigued. Mr. Thomas, the billionaire, pulled into the driveway, his sleek black car purring to a halt. He had just returned from a high-stakes meeting, and the weight of his fortune felt heavier with every passing day. He stepped out of the car, his eyes immediately catching sight of his daughter. He was about to head inside, but something stopped him. His gaze lingered on Emily, who was no longer alone. The girl sitting with her was unfamiliar, and Mr. Thomas's curiosity piqued. He walked quietly across the lawn, making sure not to alert them. He hid behind a large shrub, his eyes trained on the pair. What was happening? His daughter, the heir to his empire, was sitting beside a homeless girl, of all people. As he listened in, something started to shift within him. The homeless girl wasn't just talking about the weather or small talk. She was speaking with an intensity and wisdom that left Mr. Thomas baffled. The girl, Lily, spoke slowly but with great conviction. You know, Emily, people think that the world is about what you can get. But that's not true. It's about what you give away. Everything you own, it's borrowed. You can't take it with you. But what you can give, that stays. Emily sat up straighter, her eyes wide with surprise. What do you mean? Lily smiled, a soft, knowing smile. I don't have much, but what I have is worth more than anything money can buy. The way you treat people, how you listen, how you care, those things are priceless. Mr. Thomas's heart raced. This wasn't the kind of conversation he expected to overhear in his park. His daughter was soaking in every word of it, hanging on Lily's every sentence. He had spent his life teaching Emily that success was built on power, wealth, and status. He'd shielded her from the realities of the world, believing that keeping her in a bubble would protect her. But this girl, this 12-year-old girl who had nothing, was teaching Emily something that Mr. Thomas had never been able to. He felt a strange sense of guilt gnawing at him. Was he really doing the right thing by sheltering Emily from the world? By filling her life with tutors and lavish vacations, was he stifling her understanding of what truly mattered? Harsh, but if you have love and kindness in your heart, you'll survive anything. Lily continued, oblivious to Mr. Thomas's presence. You see, Emily, I've learned to survive. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. The streets are tough. They teach you things you don't learn in school. The world can be harsh, but if you have love and kindness in your heart, you'll survive anything. Emily's expression softened. But how do you stay so positive? I'd be so scared. Lily shrugged. Fear is part of it, but you can't let it control you. You keep going. Every day is a new chance to learn and grow. You have to let go of your ego, your need for things. I know it's hard, but it's the only way to be truly free. Mr. Thomas stood frozen, his mind racing. He had never heard such wisdom come from someone so young, and certainly not from someone so disadvantaged. This girl, with her ragged clothes and grimy face, had a life experience that Emily couldn't even begin to comprehend. But somehow, she had an understanding of life that far surpassed his. As the conversation continued, Mr. Thomas's thoughts swirled. The last few years had been a blur of meetings, contracts, and high-end dinners. He had built a business empire worth billions, but what had he really built? Emily's world was one of privilege, but was it enough? Was he truly teaching her the right things? Or was he just filling her life with distractions, keeping her from the hard lessons that only real life could provide? He couldn't tear his eyes away from the scene before him. Emily, the girl he'd sheltered and protected, was opening up to this homeless stranger in a way he never expected. After a while, Emily stood up, her mind clearly buzzing with new thoughts. "Can I come back tomorrow?" she asked, her voice full of curiosity and excitement. Lily nodded, her smile soft but sincere. "Of course. I'll be here." Emily hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out a few crumpled bills. "Here, I want you to have this." Lily's eyes widened, but she shook her head. "No, thank you. Keep it. You don't need to buy my friendship." Emily looked at her, confused. "But I want to help." Lily smiled again. "The best way to help is to learn from me. Listen. That's enough." With a final smile, Emily waved and began walking back toward the house. Mr. Thomas remained where he stood, his heart heavy. As he watched his daughter disappear inside the house, he couldn't help but wonder what had just happened. He didn't go inside right away. Instead, he found himself walking down the path, lost in thought. How had he allowed himself to become so distant from the real world? How had he let his daughter grow up thinking that wealth and status were the only things that mattered? He had always thought of himself as a man of great achievement. But what was the true value of his success? Was he really helping Emily by surrounding her with excess and luxury, or was he missing something crucial, something he hadn't even realized until now? He needed answers. And the answers, he suspected, were not going to come from the people in his inner circle. They were going to come from Emily, who, despite her sheltered life, was beginning to see the world in a way that he never had. And, surprisingly, they were going to come from Lily, the homeless girl with no possessions but a wealth of wisdom. Mr. Thomas knew that he couldn't just ignore this. He needed to understand more. He needed to see what kind of effect this girl was having on Emily, and he needed to figure out why it had taken someone like Lily, someone so seemingly insignificant, to make him question everything he had ever believed about success. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions for Mr. Thomas. He found himself standing in front of the mirror in his private study late one night, his reflection staring back at him with a somber expression. "What am I doing?" he whispered, running his fingers through his hair. The question had been eating away at him for days. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that his entire approach to parenting had been wrong. He had raised Emily in a bubble, protected her from the hardships of life, and sheltered her from the very things that could give her real strength. Emily had started visiting Lily every day after school. Mr. Thomas had tried to ignore it at first, chalking it up to a fleeting curiosity. But as he watched his daughter's transformation, he couldn't deny the change. She was becoming more compassionate, more grounded, more thoughtful in ways he hadn't seen before. One evening, after a dinner party where Mr. Thomas had tried his best to act normal, "Dad, I've been thinking. I want to start something. I want to help people who are like Lily." Mr. Thomas paused, his heart skipping a beat. "What do you mean, help people like Lily?" Emily smiled softly, her eyes filled with an unspoken understanding. "She doesn't have money, Dad. But she has so much to teach. She's been through so much, and she's still kind. I think I can help her. I want to create a place for kids like me and kids like her, where they can share what they've learned, help each other, and grow together. I don't know how yet, but I want to try." Her words hit him harder than any business deal ever had. Emily wasn't talking about building an empire or expanding his wealth. She was talking about building something that mattered, something that could truly change the world. For the first time in years, Mr. Thomas felt like he was looking at his daughter with new eyes. She wasn't just a wealthy girl with endless opportunities. She was a person with a deep sense of empathy and a desire to make a difference. Over the next few days, Mr. Thomas began to look at things differently. He couldn't stay detached any longer. He had to understand what this was all about. His curiosity was no longer just about his daughter. It was about the girl who had sparked this transformation in her. He tracked Lily down the next afternoon. He found her sitting on the same park bench, her usual spot. He approached slowly, unsure of how to start the conversation. She looked up as he neared, a faint smile crossing her face. "Mr. Thomas," she said, her voice steady, "I knew you'd come." He stopped a few feet away from her, his hands in his pockets. "How did you know?" Lily shrugged. I could see it in your eyes when you were watching. You want to know the truth, don't you? He nodded. I don't understand. How is it that you, of all people, are teaching my daughter things that I never could? I've spent my whole life building wealth, trying to give her everything, and you've given her more in a few days than I've given her in years. How? Lily's smile softened, and she patted the bench beside her. Sit with me, Mr. Thomas. Let's talk. He hesitated but sat down, feeling the weight of the conversation ahead. For the first time, he wasn't a billionaire seeking answers. He was a father, trying to understand what was happening to his child. He had built everything he had on ambition and success, but now, sitting here with this girl who had nothing, he wondered if it had all been for the wrong reasons. Lily spoke slowly, her words deliberate, as if she had been waiting for this moment. You see, Mr. Thomas, the world teaches us that money is the answer. But that's not true. Money doesn't buy happiness. It doesn't buy peace. It doesn't buy love. What you have to offer is important, but it's not the most important thing. What truly matters is the way you see the world, the way you treat others, and the lessons you pass on. Mr. Thomas absorbed her words, feeling the sting of their truth. I've spent so much of my life thinking that success was about wealth. I thought that's what Emily needed. I thought it was enough to provide for her, to make sure she had everything she could ever want. But now, I see she's learning something that I never taught her. Lily smiled, a look of quiet understanding on her face. We all learn, Mr. Thomas. Some people learn from their mistakes, some people learn from others. But the most important lesson we can learn is this. It's not about what we have. It's about what we give. It's about the lives we touch, the hearts we open. For the first time, Mr. Thomas felt something stir within him that wasn't just about power or control. It was a feeling of humility, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, he had been wrong all along. Why didn't you take the money I offered? He asked, his voice tinged with genuine curiosity. I could give you anything you want. A house. A future. Why didn't you take it? Lily looked down at the ground for a moment before answering. Because money isn't what I need, Mr. Thomas. I don't need your charity. I need to teach people that they can survive, that they can thrive, even when they have nothing. I need to show them that the world is full of possibilities, no matter where they come from. He felt a lump form in his throat as he realized that this young girl, with nothing but the clothes on her back, had more strength, more resilience, and more wisdom than he could ever hope to have. I don't know how to do this, Lily. But I want to learn. I want to help Emily, and I want to help others. Can you show me? Lily's eyes met his, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of warmth in them. It's not about me showing you, Mr. Thomas. It's about you showing yourself. You already have everything you need. You just have to open your heart. The conversation lingered in Mr. Thomas's mind long after it ended. That night, as he lay in bed, he stared up at the ceiling, his mind racing. He had everything, a massive fortune, power, respect. But he realized now that it was all meaningless unless he could learn to open his heart, unless he could teach Emily to see the world not through the lens of wealth but through the lens of empathy and kindness. The next morning, he sat down with Emily, a different man than he had been just a few days ago. He didn't bring up business or wealth. Instead, he looked her in the eyes and said, Emily, I want to help you build something. Something that will change lives. Something that will make a real difference. Emily's face lit up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. What do you mean, Dad? I mean, I want to help you create a place where kids from all backgrounds can come together, share their stories, and learn from each other. Where they can learn not just math and science, but how to be kind, how to give, and how to survive, no matter what life throws at them. Emily smiled, her heart full of hope. I've been waiting for you to say that, Dad. Over the next few weeks, the transformation in Mr. Thomas became even more profound. He threw himself into the project with a dedication he had never before invested in anything. The idea Emily had sparked, a space where children could learn life's most valuable lessons, not just the ones found in textbooks, began to take shape. Mr. Thomas wasn't just writing checks anymore. He was deeply involved, meeting with community leaders, educators, and activists. He was listening, truly listening, in a way he never had before. Emily's role in the project was pivotal. She became the heart and soul of the initiative, sharing Lily's teachings with the children who came from all walks of life. The center they created wasn't a typical school. It was a community, a sanctuary where empathy, kindness, and resilience were valued over grades and competition. One afternoon, as Mr. Thomas walked into the newly built center, a beautiful airy space filled with children of all backgrounds working together, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and awe. The walls were covered in murals depicting stories of kindness, courage, and survival. There was a corner where children shared stories about the struggles they had faced in life, another where they worked on creative projects, learning how to give and receive with love and compassion. Emily was sitting with a group of younger children, helping them paint a mural about hope. Her face was radiant with joy, and Mr. Thomas couldn't help but marvel at the girl she had become. She wasn't the same sheltered child who had lived in a bubble of wealth and privilege. She was now someone who understood the deeper meaning of life. And it was all thanks to Lily, the homeless girl who had shown her that true wealth wasn't measured in money, but in the impact you have on others. As Mr. Thomas watched Emily, his mind wandered back to the days when he had been consumed with building his fortune. He had thought that wealth was the answer to everything, that it was the key to happiness, security, and success. But now, he saw how wrong he had been. The real answer, the one he had been searching for all along, had been with him the entire time. It wasn't in the boardrooms, the contracts, or the business deals. It was in the hearts of the people who touched his life in unexpected ways. The more Mr. Thomas interacted with the children at the center, the more he realized that this was his true legacy. It wasn't the billions he had accumulated or the empires he had built. It was the change he was helping to create in the world, one child, one lesson, and one act of kindness at a time. One day, as Mr. Thomas was walking through the center, he saw Lily sitting in the corner, watching the children with a proud smile. She had become a mentor to the others, teaching them the same wisdom she had shared with Emily. She hadn't asked for money, hadn't accepted any handouts. She had simply wanted to make a difference, and in doing so, she had transformed not only Mr. Thomas's life but the lives of so many others. He walked over to her, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Lily," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "I owe you everything. You've changed my life, and you've changed Emily's life. We would never have created this without you. You're the reason we're here." Lily looked up at him, her eyes warm and knowing. "I didn't change anything, Mr. Thomas. I just reminded you of what you already knew. The world doesn't need more people chasing after money. It needs people who are willing to open their hearts and give. You did the rest." Mr. Thomas shook his head. "No. You did. Without you, none of this would have happened." Lily smiled softly, standing up and placing a hand on his shoulder. "That's the thing, Mr. Thomas. It's not about one person. It's about all of us working together, helping each other, and learning from each other." And in that moment, Mr. Thomas understood. He understood that true wealth wasn't about what he had accumulated over the years. It wasn't about the mansions, the cars, or the stock market gains. It was about the lives he had touched and the impact he could make on the world. As the center continued to thrive, Mr. Thomas found himself pouring his energy into expanding it, making sure that no child, regardless of their background, would ever have to go through life without learning the most important lessons of all. He partnered with organizations, philanthropists, and even other billionaires who shared his vision, creating a network of people dedicated to giving back. But even as the center grew, Mr. Thomas knew that the real lesson, the one he had learned from Lily, was not something that could be replicated in buildings or institutions. It was a lesson that had to be lived every single day. Years later, as Mr. Thomas stood on stage at a gala to honor the center's success, he looked out at the audience, filled with people from all walks of life, and felt a profound sense of peace. Emily, now a young woman, stood beside him, her smile full of pride. The project had become her life's work, and she had never been more fulfilled. Before he gave his speech, Mr. Thomas paused and looked at Emily. He could see the light in her eyes, the same light that had first sparked in the park when she had met Lily. She had become the woman he had always hoped she would be, compassionate, wise, and driven by a deep sense of purpose. He stepped up to the microphone, his heart full of gratitude. "I've spent my life chasing after success, thinking that wealth was the ultimate goal," he began, his voice steady but emotional. "But the truth is, success is not about what you have, it's about what you give. It's about the people you help, the lives you touch, and the kindness you spread. I owe everything to my daughter, Emily, and to Lily, the girl who taught us all that true wealth is found in the heart." As the audience applauded, Mr. Thomas looked over at Lily, who was standing quietly at the back of the room. She smiled at him, and for the first time, he understood that she had given him the greatest gift of all, the wisdom to see the world differently and the courage to change. In this life, success is no measured by the amount of money you amassed, but by the number of lives you positively impacted. If this story has inspired you, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below about how we can all make a difference in the world. Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs a little reminder that true wealth is found in the lives we touch. See you in the next inspiring story.